Hello friends and welcome back. In our previous video we saw how we have implemented get, put, post and delete method, and in this video we are going to see how we can add multiple put, post or delete action methods. Let's begin. So in order to do that, go to the solution and then go to web API config. And here, what we have to do is we have to add one more configuration for our routing. So what we are saying here is config routes map routing, and here we have given our mapping name as action API. So what we want is previously we were just following the default route API slash controller and ID was optional. But here what we want is, if let's say user wants to provide a URL with an action name, then we should be able to invoke that action when we do a post, put, get or a delete request. Okay, so that we will see in a bit. Once you do this, uh, for example sake, I'm going to employees controller. Okay, and here let's say I want one more get method but with a different name. So copy it and just paste back, and here let's say I want to call it as get by get by ID. Okay, right. So what I have to do here is I have to mention that it is a GET request, and also I have to define the attribute routing. So let me do that. What I'm saying here is I'm saying yes, this is an HTTP GET request, and upon calling this URL, if you use a request for this URL, then it should come here, and here what I'll say int ID, and based on this ID we are expecting it to return a record from employees where where type here employee ID equal to, and here just give the employee ID. So here we have to add the dollar to accept value from our parameter, so is ID. Right, just move the single quotation because we are going to accept an integer value, right? So once you do this, what we are expecting here is we are expecting our API to return a single value based on ID. Okay, so let's go to our SQL DB and let's find out the list of employees, and from there we will select one of the employee ID and we'll try to fetch that record using this get by ID method. So let us go there. So here we are in database and we want to fetch records from employees. Okay, let's see what is there, and let's take employee ID as 2, so I'm copying that ID, and let's open the Postman, and in Postman just copy the URL. So for that, first you need to run your application and then you can copy it. So I'm just running the application here and grab the URL from the browser. Okay, copy it and then paste here, and remember that we are going to make a GET request, and so the format is API slash controller name. So our controller name is employee, employee slash, here we have to provide our ID. So we saw the ID as 2. If you just go and look there in database, so it is 2. So I'll say 2, and it is a GET request. So upon send, I should receive one object or one record from the employee. So send it. Bravo. So we have got the employee ID as 2 and the remaining details of that employee. Okay. Let us create one more action as a post action. We already have a post action in our code. So let's see that first, and then we'll add one more post action. So just stop the application, and as we can see that we already have a post action here. But let's say I don't want to give name as post. I want something else. So what I'll do, I'll simply copy this and I'll paste, and I'll give a name as create. So I've given name as create. So now what I want is I want to do everything as same what this post action is doing. Just for demo purpose, I've taken the same code, but I want to call this post action with a different name. So here I have given name as create, and I have to mention that this is of type post request, and also in the routing I have to mention the action name, right? So here I'm mentioning the action name so that when a user requests this URL, so it should reach our create. So just for our understanding, I'm putting a breakpoint here, or I'll simply put a breakpoint on return here. So just run it, and as usual, copy this URL. If you don't have it, just go to Postman, and here what you can do is you can click on post and remove this /2, and instead here we are going to use the method name as create, and click on body, and just for the demo sake I'm copying this only, and we'll change, do the necessary changes. Click on raw, and here select JSON, and here copy that object, and just remove this ID because this is an auto-generated property, so we don't have to worry about it. And let's say I'm giving here name as um, create method test. Create method test. Okay, and let's say the email ID is create method test @gmail.com. Okay, so we want to make a post request, and we are expecting that it will invoke our create method. So click on send, and as you can see our debug point got hit here. That means our routing is working correctly. And if I press on continue, so here it will come to the return. If I say continue, so by then we'll get a response as added successfully. Let's check into the database. So let's go to the database and just execute this query again. And here we can see that here we have create method test record. And let's copy this, and let's try to do a get request. So click on get, and instead of create here I'm giving the ID, and if I say send, so here I'm getting a employee record. Okay, just for the demo sake, we will also add one more action method for updating. So to update, again, we'll do the copy paste of the same code with a different name. Okay, let's do it. So just come back to our application, stop the application, and here we will add the put method. So just copy it and paste down. I have not changed any logic whatsoever. So here I've given the name as update, and I'm following the same pattern that I'm invoking this method from its name. So if I just run it, and if I try to update it, okay, I have to go to my Postman, and what is our ID? Let me just copy this whole object here, and I want to update my record. So before that, let me just put a debug point there. So I'm giving here a debug point so that whenever we try to, invoke this method, it should come here. So that's good. And let's go back to our Postman. Here, I'm selecting the put request and I'm just removing this, and I'm going to invoke my update action. And here I have to provide what value I want to update, right? So I just want to update employee here. So employee name here. So I'll say update method, update method test. And our employee ID is going to be this. And once I click on send, it is invoking our update method. I'll say continue and continue, and this should result with an updated successfully. And if I go back to our database, if I just run it, so here now our employee ID is this and our method got updated. Right. So this way you can add multiple update, multiple post requests, multiple put requests, multiple get requests. Even if you want to do multiple delete, you can do that. Okay. So you just have to follow the same pattern. Uh, so just come back and let's try to execute our get request once again. So here I'll say this, I'll call the employee with employee ID send. So here I'm getting the result as 40002. Employee name is method update method test, and this is the result we have got. Okay, so this is the end of this video. In upcoming videos, we'll be starting with the setup of Angular application. What are the things we require? We'll go step by step. Until then, please take care and do visit our next videos for more learning. Okay, thank you. Bye.